am the owner of Activate English. What I want to do is help you improve your English and improve your English quickly. So I will be doing a series of videos on different topics that I think are important for learners that are studying English right now, and topics that are often problems for them. Today, we are going to look at word formation. This is a lesson for students which are pre-intermediate level and higher. But this is a lesson that I think is very important, because if you don't learn it, and if you don't learn it early, you can have a lot of problems when you're trying to understand English. So what I'm going to do here is share my screen. Okay, so I've already written a few things that I think are important, but before we get into those, I want to make sure that you understand the different word forms. So when I say word forms, what I mean is verb, noun, adjective, adverb. So when you think about a verb, let's give an example here. Okay, so any verb you can say to walk. Any noun you could say a cat. Any adjective you could say expensive. And any adverb you could say slowly. So, and actually, when we say expensive, let's say to be expensive. Okay, so now that we have these, let's make sure that we know what they do. So for example, to walk, this is an action. A noun is a person, place, or a thing. An adjective describes something. It's a quality, a characteristic, and it describes something. An adverb also describes something. Now, something that's important to know is that adjectives describe nouns. For example, house. No, let's say it is an expensive house. So here we have adjective and here we have noun. Remember, in English, the adjective goes before the noun. Okay, something else is important to know is that adverbs describe verbs. So you could say the girl walked slowly. Here we have the verb, and here we have the adverb. Okay, let's actually look at some kind of basic rules for thinking about word formation. So one, adverbs usually, not always, but usually end in ly, or maybe lly, or maybe ally. Okay, let's see, another important thing is that nouns have articles. So we can say like a cat or an orange or the house. What else? Okay, another important thing is that adjectives usually use the verb to be. For example, to be expensive. And an example sentence is the house is expensive. So here we have the verb to be and we have an adjective. Okay, and then the base form of the verb, like when it starts out, we always use to, right? To walk, to talk, to run. And from there, we change it. In the past, walked. In the present, third person, he walks. In the future, will walk. Okay. So it's important to understand these because you will understand how English kind of structures itself, and it will be easier for you to make sentences, to understand people when they're talking, to read, and to write. Okay, there's a lot of information about like common noun suffixes and common adjective suffixes and prefixes. There's a lot. But let's just go over some very basic ones today. I found these off of EC English, so shout out to EC. But here are some common noun suffixes. So ER, like player, ice or ICE, justice, ness, happiness. So it's important to be familiar with these because they will help you identify nouns sometimes. But there are many more than this. Okay, and then this is the same for adjectives. There's tons of resources on the internet, and this list is ever growing. The problem with English is that English is not, it's not a very, like, I can't think of the word, but our rules change a lot. And for example, with, nouns and adjectives, like there's just many, many, many more of these. So it's important to learn these and to pay attention to them when you do learn them, and to remember that there will always be more. Okay, so one thing that's important when you think about a word, so if you learn a new word, you want to think about it and its various forms. This is called word formation, and what I'm going to make here is a word family. Okay, so I pick some words here. The first word is to produce. Now, the noun form, so you think about it and we see it has the to and we know it's a verb. Okay, so if we want to expand it, we can think about the noun form. One noun would be production. Okay, and then we say, okay, what's the adjective? Well, one I can think of right away is to be productive. And then an adverb, productively. So look, it has the important points here. Actually, yeah, we have to produce, to be productive, and productively. Here we don't have the article because it's not a count noun. Okay, so let's do impress, to impress. Okay, the noun would be impression. Adjective would be to be impressive. And the adverb would be impressively. Okay, so we followed the same rules, add ly, to be, we have to. Here, this is a count noun, so we could say an impression. Okay, to occupy. Okay, here we could say occupation. And Sometimes words have more than, one form. They have a lot of words that are related. So if we add pre, we can get preoccupied. Actually, I'm not sure if I spelled that right. And that looks wrong too. That's it? Yeah. Okay. So occupation means a job. Preoccupied means to be worried. So they have very different meanings, but they come from the same root word, which is occupy. So let's see. And an adjective form we can say would be to be occupied or to be preoccupied. An adjective, I don't really think there's one for occupied. I mean, there could be, but it wouldn't be a common one that we use very often. So we could say preoccupiedly. Keep spelling that wrong. Okay. To know. Here we could say noun, known, and we could make it negative. We could say unknown. Anything else? Oh, we could also say knowledgeable. Oh no, sorry, that's over here. So we could also say knowledge. And then the adjective would be knowledgeable. And let's see, known, knowledgeably, yes. And I think we could say knowledgeably. Sometimes they sound a bit strange, but I believe that it exists. Okay, here's one that we start off with an adjective. I don't think, to aware, to be aware. There isn't a verb form that I can think of off the top of my head. A noun would be awareness. We could also say, make this negative and say unaware. And I don't think that there's a common adverb for this. Okay, and then to respect. So let's see the noun here. Oops. Would just be respect. The adjective would be to be respectful. If we want to make it negative, we could say to be disrespectful. And then an adjective would be respectfully or disrespectfully. Here we're adding two L's and a Y. Okay, so now that you have this information, what do you do next? Well, I like to use first certificate exam or the Cambridge Advanced Exam exercises. And the specific exercise is called word formation. So this one is not FCE, but I just searched for word formation exercises and I chose some of these words here. So a good activity to do is to find one of these, look for these words, open a dictionary, and first make a word formation chart. So the step one would be find a word formation exercise on the internet. Step 2 is get a dictionary and look all the words. Look up all the words. Step 3 would be to make a word family. And step 4 would be to answer the questions or complete the task using the words that you learned. Okay, so we have looked at these words, we've made a word family, it didn't take that long, and now let's just complete some of them. So for example, Detroit is renowned for the, we can look back. Here we know that there's the, we have an article here, so we know that it's a noun, so we can say production. So the production of cars. The next one, again, we see this article, so we can look at this and say, okay, it is impression. You can read the whole sentence to get the meaning, and you can also look for these little clues here. Teaching and medicine are more than occupations, they are professions.